we're very lucky right now to be joined actually by a guest here on set with us who was front and center for the throne speech. The wonderful Mila Mulroney is here. Mrs. Mulroney, it's such a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be with you.
I appreciate you making the time for the conversation. We watched you sitting next to all of the former prime ministers and people, former governors general. Tell us what it was like to be in that room.
It was a great honor. It really was a great honor. And people were almost there was a euphoria in knowing that the king was going to read the throne speech. And it had been a long time between royalty reading our speeches. So it was a great honor for me and a privilege. And saw so many good old friends and met a lot of new young senators and had a chance to talk to former governor generals and with King Charles and Queen Camilla. Had a few words, and it was just a really deep pleasure for me to be there.
Your late husband, I remember interviewing him when the Queen passed away,
Yes.
and the number of stories that he had involving you, and the two of you kind of, you know, your story with the monarchy, the number of personal interactions, for example, were numerous to say the least. What does the monarchy mean to you?
Well, it's interesting because I think people always assume prime ministers and monarchs are very much at arm's length, but it wasn't the case. I think the Queen was very, very benevolent when it came to all her prime ministers and all of the world leaders, and she was very generous in a private space, and she was she was amusing, she was funny, she was well read. All those things I could say about King Charles as well. He was and is one of my favorite stories about King Charles. He was not King Charles when the story took place, but he came to play polo. He came to play polo in Florida, and I was there alone. So I went to have dinner with him and a group of people just off the polo grounds. And he was very troubled by what was going on in Romania, but with Ceausescu digging up all the graves and taking away all the history. And I was fascinated about it because, as you know, I was born in the former Yugoslavia. And so I was thinking about what would happen if this kind of thing continued in Eastern Europe. And so he said, I'll send you the book. And sure enough, he sent me the book, and he wrote me a beautiful card, which I think the archives had. Brian read it because we had Ceausescu come to visit.
Wow.
So I think it's he's got a lot of depth, intellectual depth, and he's a man of great interests and curiosity, and I think England and the Commonwealth will really benefit from that.
After the Queen passed away, your husband told me and was speaking to me about the role the Queen played in so-called soft diplomacy, right? Your husband was very much involved with other countries rallying against apartheid South Africa.
Yes.
And this is a role that the Queen herself took actively, even though the role itself, Ms. Mulroney, is not it's not a political role,
Yes.
right? Talk to me about, you know, some of the parallels of that soft diplomacy in what the Queen did and what the King did here today.
Well, that's a very interesting comparison. I think, you know, people assume that the throne speech is written by the government of the day, which it is. But I think you felt the King's presence through it all. And this is a king who understands the complexity of the world right now. And in some ways, it was an olive branch. In other ways, it was a bit of a hammer. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. But I think he's up to the challenge, and I think I'm very hopeful that we'll be able to overcome everything that's thrown at us.
It was a delicate balance, and you know, and such a stunning moment of national unity. I think it was at your late husband's funeral at Notre Dame that we saw this tremendous gathering of politicians from, you know, various party lines coming together in one space, and we saw that again today in the Senate.
Yes. Well, I think that also Brian was a man who admired public service on every level, and he respected people who took a stand. He had issues with people who couldn't make up their mind. And I think King Charles today took a stand, and he is the head of the Commonwealth. It's a very volatile world right now, especially in Africa. And he's going to do a fabulous job. I think he knows what he needs to do as the leader. And look, everybody, I believe in working together and making it all work, and I hope our Prime Minister will do the same.
If your husband were here today, I mean, he had such a close relationship with your family did with Ronald Reagan. What do you think he would say about the current state of affairs between Canada and the U.S.?
You know, I couldn't tell you because the language would be a little foul. Although he was a very nice Catholic boy, he had his moments. But I do think that he would work across all party lines, and he would work across all languages, barriers, and as many of the groups that we belong to, whether it's NATO or NORAD or the United Nations. And he was a man that believed that consensus and teamwork was absolutely essential.
It's the King's first visit here as sovereign at the 20th.
Yes.
20th visit to Canada. I know you saw the crowds that had assembled here. Like, it was jam-packed. There is a huge crowd that came out to see the King both today and even yesterday, the King and the Queen, I should say. What do you think that says about the relevance of the monarchy in Canada right now, or even just about this moment for Canadians?
I believe that the monarchy is going to be around long after all of us are gone. I think it has a very important role to play, and I think people love pomp and ceremony. They need to celebrate something. They need to feel as a part of something, and having them come out and be, cheek by jowl with the King of England and his Queen, I think just gave people the feeling that Canada was an important place in the minds of the world. And I was very happy to see it, and I'm so grateful for the weather.
Right?
Isn't it beautiful?
Yes, it's a stunning day. Did you feel that in the room as well?
Yes, yes, we did. And I mean, it was beautifully orchestrated. We got to shake hands with them. We got to talk with them. It was lovely. It was well done.
Well, I appreciate you making the time to come see us after all of it. It's such a pleasure to see you, Mrs. Mulroney.
Thank you.
Thank you.